All right, here we go. It's a brand new Flyers Daily for the 17th of October, 2024. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. We've got a ton to get into in this episode. This is why I love the season being here. There's so many different angles of conversation, and so many different great conversations to have, things to dissect, things to judge, things that need to be better, things that, whoa, I didn't see that coming. It's better than I thought. A lot of that. We're going to get to a bunch of Twitter questions, X questions, whatever you want to call them, in this episode. We're going to get to a little preview of Flyers Kraken tonight as they wrap up a 4-game road trip. And we're also going to get into a couple of other elements here in this episode today. So very busy episode. Let's get right to it. First of all, here's where I want to start. Congratulations to Denver Barkey. He was named the 53rd captain of the London Knights. Now, we didn't get one of the things that I was bummed about through training camp in the preseason is that we didn't get to see Denver Barkey show us where he is from last year's training camp to this year's training camp. It was one of the things I was really looking forward to. But unfortunately, he came down with mono over the summer, and you got to be real careful with mono. You can't take any hits. It could, I guess, hurt the spleen or something like that. So you can't have any physical contact. But I really wanted to see him. It was a bummer that we didn't get to see him. But congratulations to Denver on being named the 53rd captain of the London Knights. A very storied OHL franchise, obviously. And one where when you look at, being named the captain of a junior team like that, that's got some cachet. I mean, you look at some of the guys who've been captains with the London Knights, whether it's Dale Hunter, who's his coach now, and one of the owners of the team, or Brendan Shanahan, one of the great leaders in the NHL. Evan Bouchard was a captain there. Christian Dvorak, Mitch Marner, Max Domi. He's not actually the only, we have a former Flyer that was a captain there, and Danny Sivret. Rick Nash wore the A there. So did Corey Perry, who we saw last night, fight Joel Farabee. Nazem Kadri, another one-game Flyer, wore an A there. How about Victor Mete? And a guy wearing the A there right now is Oliver Bonk, Flyers prospect. So awesome stuff. It tells you a lot about the way Denver Barkey carries himself on and off the ice. That London program, they get guys ready for the NHL. They're about winning now and having success there as an OHL franchise, but they're also about getting guys ready to take the transition into pro hockey at the AHL and NHL level. So great to see it. I put this tweet out yesterday, too. I just have this gut feeling. I don't know that it's more than a gut. Just something tells me something about Denver Barkey is he's going to be a real contributor at the NHL level. I'm not saying he's going to be a star or anything like that, but he's going to be a contributor in today's game. So can't wait to see his progression and see what kind of he had over 100 points last year with the London Knights. He's going to light it up there this year. So looking forward to a great season from him and probably playing for Team Canada in the World Juniors as well. So congrats to Denver Barkey. All right, second thing I want to get to, let's get to the preview of the Flyers and Seattle Kraken. It's no longer Dave Hackstall's Seattle Kraken. It is now Dan Bylsma as the bench boss of the Seattle Kraken. Right now, they're sitting in the 4th spot in the Pacific Division of the Western Conference. They've played 4 games, 2 up, 2 down, 4 points. They are +2 in goal differential. They did win their last game. And this will be obviously the last game for the Flyers on this 4-game opening road trip to the season. Seattle won their first game against the Predators, 7-3. Lost their second against a very good Stars team, 2-0 on the road. And then they lost in their last game back at home, 3-2, against the St. Louis Blues. Who are the players to watch for the Seattle Kraken? Well, I mean, Jordan Eberle, old Sage veteran, is there. He's gotten off to a good start. 4 points in 4 games, 3 of them goals. Jared McCann's got 4 points, 2 and 2 for him. Brandon Tanev is there. Vince Dunn, Brandon Montour. They're a team that is going to try and get back into that playoff mix. Shane Wright is 4 games played. He does not have a point yet this season and 14.41 average ice time. Well, who they got in net? Well, we've seen Joey Decord and Philip Grubauer. Decord's got both wins. Grubauer's got both losses. Who we'll see tonight is anyone's guess. For the Flyers tonight in net, look, Harrison played the first game against Vancouver, and that shootout win. Then it was the back-to-back. Ivan Fedotov got the second game in Calgary. that the Flyers lost 5-3. And then, obviously, Sam Ersson played on Tuesday night against the Edmonton Oilers. I thought he was really good in that game as well. Tonight wraps up the trip. Team will travel back tomorrow, all-day travel, and then they'll have a game on Saturday. No morning skate on Saturday, likely. They'll be right back at it for the home opener against Vancouver Saturday night. They didn't get that buffer day. Usually when you come back from this trip, you get the buffer day. You get the one day to get back and get acclimated to the time zone, and then the next day, after that, you have a day to have a practice, and then the day of a game. They don't have that. You got to deal with it. So I have a feeling the Flyers will probably go with Ivan Fedotov in this game tonight. If they had that extra day, I think they'd go Sam Ersson. But without that extra day, I think they'll go Ivan Fedotov tonight. So we'll see if I'm right. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. So we'll see where that goes for the Flyers. So it's the Flyers and the Kraken tonight. Now, one of the things about the Flyers that I mentioned, in the 8 kind of reasons, the 8 numbers that need to be for the Flyers to be a playoff team. I went through all 8 on an episode. I think it was last Thursday. So just a little less than a week ago. We talked about stuff like the power play needs to click at 18.5% or higher, coming off a year where they were in the 12% range. They need to be plus 20 in goal differential. Right now they're minus 3, I believe. The PK has got to click at over 83%. It's got to be a strength of the team again for the Flyers. It's clicking at 85.7 right now, and they've already got a shorthanded goal. They got to get that goal differential down in the first period and the third period. They got to get that goals allowed per game down around 3. Right now they're at 2.67. So they're they're at 4 goals allowed per games played right now. They got to get that number down. They got to have 42 regulation and overtime wins. They don't have one of those yet. They have a win in a shootout, and they have an overtime loss, and they have a regulation loss. You need a regulation win. You need 42 on that number to have a chance to make the playoffs. And then another one that I brought up was the team shooting percentage. It's got to be 10% or higher. They were the second lowest team shooting percentage in the NHL last year, I think 9.2%. Got to get that above 10%. It's got to go up. They have not done that so far this season. Right now, they have 101 shots on the season, and they've scored 8 goals. That is a shooting percentage of 7.92%, 26th in the NHL. Now, when you look at how they've scored their 8 goals this season, 4 of them have been on the power play. 1 has been shorthanded off the rush, 2-on-1 off the rush with Lawton and Konechny. And then they have 3 that are even strength goals. So one of them was that Joel Farabee goal on that pass from Brink. So they've got to get that shooting percentage up. 31 shots in the first game, 40 shots in the second game in Calgary, and then 30 in the game against Edmonton. And just 8 goals. So 101 shots, 8 goals, 7.92%. That has got to rate. We've talked about Owen Tippett a little bit lately. And he's a guy that takes a ton of shots. Led the team in shots last season. He's a guy that's got to find the net a little bit more. Hit the net a little bit more. Sometimes you can't shoot necessarily to score, but you can shoot for a rebound to create a higher danger scoring chance by where you put it into the goalie. Put it in his feet. Put it in an area where he can't just eat it with his chest. Don't shoot it in the logo. Don't shoot it in the glove. Shoot a good low puck, low on the blocker side, which is hard for a goalie to corral, with somebody driving far post for a rebound. Those are the kind of things they need to do to up that shooting percentage. To up the shooting percentage, you got to up the percentage of high danger chances. You're going to get those off the rush because this team plays off the rush, but they got to find a way to get them in other ways. They've done that on the power play. They've scored all 4 power plays goals on different types of execution on the power play. Michkov's made a huge difference. Just his presence out there opens the ice up for everybody else because he's so damn patient with the puck. And people kind of start staring at him. And he'll sit there with like the power play goal that Konechny scores. Michkov's on the side of the net, and you're thinking, the goalie's thinking, is he going to try and stuff me? Is he going to kick it back to the half wall? Is he going to curl behind the net? He stood there and just remained patient. And while the team on the penalty kill is wondering what he's going to do, eventually they make some decisions, and the wrong decisions. Konechny winds up open, and he puts the pass to him, and Konechny one times it for the goal. That patience of Mishkov is a huge element. And I've talked about this the last couple of seasons on game broadcasts, and I'm sure that I talked about it here, that a power play needs a guy who is going to be the guy that's the alpha of the power play. The guy that's going to say, okay, I don't care how we get the puck in the zone, if we win the opening draw or if we lose it, we have to go the length of the ice. When we obtain the zone on the power play, the puck comes to me. Everything starts with me. I'm the catalyst of the power play. I'm the one that will decide where we go, where we start, and how we kind of strategize and execute this power play. And for years, it was Giroux. Flyers got in the zone. They get set up. Giroux on the half wall on the left side. Right-hand shot. Ice was open to him. Okay, now you can work it. You're going to work it to the point for a shot. You're going to work it to the point to work it back to the weak side. Look for a guy back door. You can try the cross. All different options are open when you do that. So you need that guy that goes, when we're on the power play, get it to me. I'll set it up, calm everything down. We'll all get set up where we need to be, and then we'll go from there. And Mishkov is that guy. I didn't know if he would be that guy right away. I didn't know if that was too much to ask of a guy that speaks 3 words of English, but that's been the case. And the power play looks not a little bit better, 1,000 times better. It looks unbelievably better. Even when they don't score on the power play, it's not a momentum killer because they had a power play and it was just abysmal. Right now they're sitting at 10th in the league, 26.7%. Now the number one team in the league is at 42%. All these numbers will come down for those teams at 42%, and Ottawa sitting at 38%, Washington at 33%. It'll come back down to its level. But the Flyers are off to a great start when it comes to the power play. That's fantastic. Penalty kill's been good. So they need to keep that going. I'm not saying they need to score a power play goal in every game, but it can't be a thing that kills momentum and provides momentum to the opposition. Now, one of the things I asked John Tortorella about yesterday, we taped the episode of Hockey and Hounds. You should check it out on all the podcast apps where you get this podcast, also on the Flyers YouTube channel, was I asked him about Owen Tippett and if Owen Tippett knows how good he is. And I just feel like he doesn't. And I want people to go and listen to Hockey and Hounds. One, because we had a great conversation with Torts on that subject of Owen Tippett and coaching the mind. And he really laid out kind of how he is coaching Owen Tippett. And I think it's a fascinating answer. So there's a little cross-promotional tease for you. We also talk about Matvei Michkov and how much he has just made such a big difference for this team on the power play. Also on 5-on-5, blocked a shot in the game against Edmonton. Talk about coaching the mind and all of it. So check out that episode of Hockey and Hounds. And I'm proud to say that one episode, well, this will be the second episode, but we got dog number 1 in our first episode last week already adopted. And we got a great dog, Bella Ella, for this week. So make sure you go and check that out. All right, let's get to some Twitter questions because a bunch came in. And basically what I asked on Twitter was just said, hey, for Flyers Daily episode for tomorrow, I want to take some questions to drop them here. Also, what are your thoughts on the Flyers 3 games into the season? Now, granted, that's a very small sample size. And I say to people, don't make up definitive. You can't make up your definitive mind just yet. But we can have impressions already. That's fair. That's what being a sports fan is all about. Talking about things as they happen and throughout a season as they change. Sometimes for the better, sometimes not. All right, let's get to my buddy Boston Gary with the first question. He said, on the goaltending, if Kolosov were to be brought up, what type of clearances are needed to not lose either goalie, assuming they're all healthy, by getting claimed in the transition? Well, there's not a transition up claim process anymore, Gar. And Kolosov is waiver exempt, so he can go up and down like a toilet seat and never have to go through waivers. He would not be susceptible to any claim by a team. But if they were to send Ivan Fedotov down, he would have to clear waivers to be assigned down. And you know, one of the things with Fedotov, obviously he's a question mark. Is he going to be a successful goalie in North America? We're asking those questions. They're also asking those questions around the league if he were to go on the waiver wire and they were to send him down and bring Kolosov up. But his contract, I think, makes it pretty prohibitive that he would get claimed, especially at this time. And we're not there yet at that point where it's should he be sent down and Kolosov be brought up, but that would be the process. He would have to clear waivers. There's no waiver clearances that Kolosov would need. Dylan said, do you think Fedotov can figure it out in North America? Again, I can't answer this question yet. I can't. Anybody that claims they can answer this question right now is full of you-know-what. There's no way you can answer it. You need to let the guy adjust to the North American game a lot more before we can make a determination on if he can be successful here or not. It's all going to depend on that element of play reading, on that element of, can he figure out the right depth to be at in certain situations, when to be on his edges. I think he needs to be on his feet a little bit more. When to be on his edges, when not. Reading plays, reading threats, playing mentally from in front and not playing catch up with play development, all those things. So we can't answer that now. Just can't get there yet. Briga, actually, 82 Ursi on Twitter sent this in, and I thought this was really interesting because I didn't even notice it. He said, I've noticed Ivan Fedotov switching gear a lot between and even during games. He switches between two sets of true pads, and recently I've noticed he went back to last year's mask. I hope it depends on the goalie, but how long does it typically take before a goalie finds what works for them? Now, I'm assuming this is within the same game that he went to a different pad, because he's only played in one game this season. And last year, he was not in the true pad. So maybe he started the game in one set of pads and didn't feel they were broken in enough and went to a set that he is more broken in. Probably the orange with the white is the more broken in pad, and the orange with the black and white is the new pad. At least it looks that way. They appear to be the same pad to me. They both appear to be basically true CCM version of the eFlex 4. But stuff out of the box now for goalies is pretty much broken in, especially pads. You want them very stiff now. It's not the old days of deer hair pads where you want to squash them and break them down. As far as him changing mask, I don't know, maybe he took a puck on the side of the mask and a buckle broke and he just went to the other mask. I'm not sure about that. But he's a guy that wears a white cage. I don't know if one of the insides of the white cage is painted black, because some goalies, Sam Ersson mentioned this, that when he went with the white cage on his new mask, he felt like he couldn't see the puck. So he went back to the black cage. And some goalies will paint the inside black and it'll be white on the outside because they want the contrast. But I don't know. As far as breaking in equipment for a goaltender, that process is arduous, especially the chest protector, because that's something that needs to be sweated into a lot, broken down, and have the plastic and the padding break down a little bit before you feel comfortable in it. When you first wear a new chest protector, you feel like you're being strangled, and it's exhausting. But he's had plenty of time to get used to a new chest protector, and I talked to him about his gear quite a bit. He was a guy that wore Bauer pads before, but went to the True, feels more comfortable in it. So it's different for every goaltender. Some goalies will go through 6 pads sets a year and glove sets a year. Some will go through 2. It's just preference by individual goalie. Let's go to Flyers fan 39. He says, do Zamula's translating services give him some extra leash to avoid a scratch? He's a bubble guy, in my opinion. Overall, it's been a mixed bag for me. Arison, Matvei Michkov, Jet, and York all look good. Most of the others, okay. Need more from Tippett, Lawton, and a few others. Defense looks shaky, but okay. No, I don't think Zamula helping Matvei Michkov assimilate is any guarantee that he stays in the lineup. I don't believe that. There's another guy on the team that speaks Russian, and Ivan Fedotov as well. Plus, you could scratch Zamula, and you could still help him assimilate. So I don't think that that's part of it at all. Philly Collector says, obviously the young forwards have been the main talking points, but how do you think Drysdale and Zamula have been? Drysdale only had 13 minutes time on ice versus Edmonton. Yeah, I thought his ice was a little down in that game. They had a decent amount of power play time, too. He doesn't kill penalties. There was a decent amount of that. I'm not sure why it was down in that game as much as it was. It's a good question that I don't know the answer to. I think he's defended pretty good. I'd like to see a little more offense from him, but he's also not playing with the guy that he should be playing with, and that's Nick Seeler. I think when Nick Seeler comes back, he'll have that confidence. And that consistency in defensive partner is a really big thing. It's a really big thing for a defenseman to have peace of mind, knowing where a guy's going to be, knowing what he provides. Plus, Nick Seeler provides Jamie Drysdale another element of protection. Nobody's going to mess with Jamie Drysdale if Nick Seeler's there to hold them accountable. Now, guys are trying to hold. Drysdale's gotten blown up a few times. He's got to protect himself better. I talked to Torts about this yesterday, too. He's got to protect himself better and not put himself in positions to be blown up. That's an awareness. That's going through the neutral zone, knowing that if I got my head down, I'm going to get clobbered. So that's an awareness on him, and that's on the player. So I think Drysdale's. I think Zamula's had a bit of a slow start. There's no doubt about it. We'll see if Emil Andre comes in tonight. I don't think that would be a bad thing at all. I think you got to get Andre into a game. If you called him up on this trip and flew him all the way out there, let's put him in a game. And I think there's a couple of guys that he could go in for, and let's see where it goes. I thought he had a really good camp and a really good preseason. Burke Ricketty, fellow goaltender, says, why is this year such a make or break for Sam Ersson? Last year was just his rookie year, and he's still on the young side for a goalie, and a lot of goalies hit their prime in their late 20s. It feels a bit early to use this year to see if he can be a full-time starter. Well, he is ahead of schedule in this regard. This probably wasn't the plan. This is probably another year where he's going to be a backup, and play 30, 32, 35 games. But the whole situation went down with Carter Hart. He's no longer here, so it sped up that process of getting Sam Ersson to be a starter. And it's one of the things Tort said he's scared about. He doesn't know. He loves the kid, loves his confidence, loves his swagger, loves some of the cockiness. But does he know that he can handle the job of being a number one? And it's not just the physical grind of being a number one goalie and all the games you have to play. It's the mental part. It's the, you want to be the man. But being the man, a number one goalie in the NHL, is not an easy job. It's an unforgiving job. So that's one of the things. So I think that's just kind of pushed Burke a little ahead of schedule. A lot of questions came in regarding Jet Lachenko. Flyers and Hoagies, love them both, said, in your opinion, what does Lachenko need to do in order to stay the whole season? I think he needs to show that he can handle the rigors of the NHL, playing the best players in the world through this period, that he doesn't get overwhelmed by it. He's incredibly mature. I think he carries himself off the ice like a 26-year-old. I don't look at a specific amount of points or anything like that. He's got to just look like he fits. And I think the big part of this equation, I'll post another couple questions here that came in regarding Lachenko, and we'll wrap it into one answer. Ethan said, if Lachenko ends up staying around beyond the 9-game edition, do you feel that it solidifies the chances of him staying all year, or would the Flyers be willing to burn a year of his ELC contract, even if they send him back after, say, 30 games? And then Josh said, regarding Lachenko, my question is, what do you want to happen with Lachenko? But also, what do you think will happen with Lachenko? Will he stay or go back? I think he'll be a solid center, but I believe it's still too early for him. Nothing against his game, but he just turned 18 and has room to grow. And one more, Smitty said, do you think Lachenko plays out the 9 games in October and returns to Guelph in early November? Is Coots reduced ice time, load management, and only while Speedy Lachenko is around can Fedotov have a meaningful acclimation in North American style? But regarding Lachenko, so here's where I am on Lachenko. For me, it's not a situation of what do I want to happen with Lachenko. Here's what I want to happen. Real simple. I want, no matter what the decision is, I want it to be the right decision. I got a DM from a guy and said, I think it's too early to be here. It would make sense to burn a year of his ELC when the Flyers at best could be a fringe playoff team. You're better off kicking that can down the road. And I don't buy into that. I buy into one simple formula when it comes to Jet Lachenko and if he should be here or not. And it has nothing to do with his contract. For me, it's really simple. If he plays well enough to be here, if that's the level he needs to be at to develop his game further, then he should be in the NHL. You can develop in the NHL. It's not that you can't develop in the NHL. But what is the path? What makes the most sense to get him to the highest level that he can be as an NHL player for a career overall? Is it going back to Guelph where, look, if he's beyond that league right now, way above it, because he's so close to being an NHL player, is it good for him to go back, dominate, and play 20 minutes a night? Maybe develop some bad habits while he's there, frankly. We've seen that before. When players are beyond the league that they have to play in because of this CHL rule, sometimes they go back and their development doesn't really move forward because they're just better than just about everybody in that league. And what happens is they develop bad habits. Or you play on a line like Morgan Frost played on in junior. That always had the puck and never had to defend. And he got to the NHL and didn't know how to defend. So what is the best thing for his development? Is it to go back to Guelph and kick the living snot out of the OHL? Does that further his development and make him a better long-term pro in the NHL level? Or is that in the NHL? And maybe sometimes you sit him. But overall, that's the better path to go. And you burn a year of his ELC. I don't care about the ELC. I really don't. I wouldn't even make that part of my consideration on determining if he should stay or go back to Guelph. But it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. I thought he played really good against Edmonton. Half his shifts in that game were against Connor McDavid. And I thought he played McDavid pretty well. So again, I don't know what's going to happen at this point. In the beginning of the year, when they kept him, I said, oh, geez, there's still probably a 95% chance he's going back. Like, let's just kind of realize this. But as each day goes on, look, the team needs speed. He provides speed. They need centers. He's a center. He's a 200-foot center. So I don't know. We'll see how this ends up playing out. We'll see if he gets the full 9 games and when they have to make that decision, how they make it. Philly, Sarah Steph says, have you gotten to speak with Matt V yet? Do you know about how long it might take before they let him interview? I have not. I have not spoken to him since he's been drafted. Now, it would be hard to have a conversation with him because he still doesn't speak the language well. I'm sure he will pick it up quick, and being on the road with the boys and having to speak English more, as more and more every day will help. It's one of the things Ivan Fedotov said about his English. Being here and having to speak English helped him learn it faster. So I'm sure Matt Vey will be in that boat as well. I've had some requests in for him, but I've kind of pulled off it a little bit, Philly, because he's got so much going on with his acclimation here in Philadelphia, North America, the NHL, and all that I don't want to put me in the way of that. Not that doing an interview would do that. We are going to talk to him soon, and we'll probably have Ivan Fedotov or Zamula there, maybe both of them. Maybe we'll have all three of them together. I want to talk to him, and I think he'd be a fascinating guy to pick his brain because there's just he loves the spotlight. He loves it. So we'll get that done soon. So stay tuned, as they say in radio parlance. Ethan says, 3 games into the season, I'm excited about seeing who is ready to prove they're taking the next step this year. I'm excited to see how the defense looks when either Sealer comes back or Andre gets his shot. Totally agree. And I'm excited because we have the Mad Russian. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, too. Think about that. Mishkov wasn't supposed to be here for 2 more years. Shocked us all this summer when all of a sudden that happened. So, seeing this guy, 2 power play goals the other night in Edmonton. By the way, John Tortorella and Lachenko real quick purposely started Jet Lachenko on the first shift of that game, knowing the starters for Edmonton were going to be Connor McDavid. He'd be taking the opening face-off against him. That's a little coaching the mind right there. Joshua says, when does Kolosov come up for a look? No clue. Not even kind of near that right now. We need to see a lot more before they start making those decisions. Duff says, likely hope we see Michkov line up on Lachenko's wing for a game before Luch hits 9 games. I think we got to see them together at least once in this early going. Totally agree. I would love to see Michkov and Lachenko play on a line together. I'm going to deliver that message to the coaching staff, Duff. Let's get those two on a line together. Maybe we say it tonight. Who knows? William Wallace. Well, one of my favorite movies, says, what is Coots' ceiling? If he can't skate like he used to, how do they utilize him? Look, a lot of people are writing obituaries, getting their shovel out to pour dirt on Coots' career right now. He played less than 10 minutes. He played the least amount of minutes in the game against Edmonton. He is coming off the core surgery, so I think we need to have a little awareness that he may need a little time. Players north of 30 coming off of core surgery, it's not easy. So we'll see how it kind of progresses over the next 25 games. And then I think we can start to make some assessments on where Couturier is, if he's trending in the right direction. But we'll see how that process plays out. Again, I'm not sitting there with a shovel ready to pour dirt on him. I'm not going to be that guy right now. Korea Flyer says, hey, Jason, thanks for all you do. Thank you. Can the Flyers fan and media please give Ivan Fedotov a chance in at least 15 games for him to adjust? We're fortunate to have him. Sam was gassed last night, did all he could, but Edmonton kept coming and Sealer is missing. Yeah, you're right. I think 15, 18, close to 20 games is where we can start to make some educated assessments on Ivan Fedotov. He was here all summer. He wasn't playing in NHL games, though. You got to play in NHL games to figure out those depth situations, when to be on your edges, how the plays are going to develop, all that stuff. It just doesn't happen overnight. Just because he's 28 years old doesn't mean that he's got that knowledge. He hasn't gone through it. You got to go through it repeatedly. See how teams are attacking you. So, let's have a little bit of patience in that regard. All right, that's going to wrap up Flyers Daily. We've got Flyers, Seattle Kraken tonight. Thank God our last Flyers after dark game. I didn't even get to bed till like 4 in the morning after the Edmonton game. Hoping to get to bed and get to the rack a little bit sooner tonight. But Flyers Kraken, will break it down tomorrow on our Friday episode. So join us then for a brand new Flyers Daily.